Hello and welcome to Opening the Gates to More Listings for Estate Agents with me, Simon Gates, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Kenny Bruce, MBE. Kenny, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much, Simon, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I thought I'd get off to a good start by dropping in the MBE.
Yeah, that's the Michael Bruce Endurance Award. That was working with my brother for 20 years, so that's what it was for. It wasn't actually from the Queen.
So joking aside, let's go back to that day. Am I right in saying it was 2021, Windsor Castle, and it was for services to charity and community in Larne?
That's right.
What did that feel like?
It was incredible. I mean, to grow up in a council estate in Northern Ireland and to be lucky enough to be successful with a great team of people to go back and try and invest in your local hometown. Football club seemed like a great place to invest. For it to then culminate in an MBE, which was just incredible experience for me and my wife. We went to Windsor Castle. Princess Anne was quite remarkable. And as we were sort of ushered through to meet her, she was able to tell me I was one of 6 siblings. She was able to tell me that...
Really?
Yeah, and that I'm part of the Purple Bricks journey. And it was unbelievable what she was able to tell me within a sort of like 30-second conversation that I had. And it was quite extraordinary. And the nice thing about it is all of my siblings, my mum, my sons, my daughter were all there waiting for me outside, and we had a wonderful party in the evening to celebrate. It was quite an extraordinary thing.
Brilliant. So let's go back to Larne then. So the MBE for services to charity and community in Larne. When I was doing my research, you invested in Larne Football Club in 2017, am I right?
That's right.
And when you got involved, they were staring down the barrel of maybe relegation to the 3rd tier. Is that right?
That's right.
And then under your stewardship, promotion back up to the top league.
Yeah.
Then won a title. Twice. So and first in the history, right?
That's right.
Club. And then European football came.
Yeah, unbelievable. What a journey from 2017. I had the opportunity to, as I said earlier, give something back to my local community, and the football club seemed like a really good place to try and support. It was the ground was derelict, it was condemned, it was closed. Larne wasn't able to play at its home ground. It had lost its first 7 games, including pre-season, 5 games, including pre-season, of the 2017-18 season. And I was approached to see whether I'd be interested in helping. And I met a very inspirational, young, ambitious manager in Tiernan Lynch who sold me the dream of what investment and a bit of strategy and a bit of energy and a bit of drive could give to the club and to the town. And it proved to be exactly what he said, and everything he laid out to me in our first meeting culminated in what he achieved on the pitch. It was an incredible journey.
And at the time of recording, it's not been that long since you're no longer involved.
That's right.
They say. And there was a YouTube video where you had an interview, I think, as you were leaving. And I don't know if you've seen this, but these are some of the comments left below that YouTube video. So there was good luck to Kenny. You did the unimaginable and got Little Larne Town into an actual UEFA Group League phase competition. That night against Lincoln Red Imps.
That's right.
Will live long in memory of every Larne fan. By the way, I can read. It's just very small font. Don't be a stranger, and when you can come and watch the team with the rest of us. Thank you, Kenny, for your inspirational leadership and passion for this town. Kenny's done the town proud. Let's hope the fans don't forget that. Kenny, you can walk tall. Neat stuff these past few years. How's that make you feel hearing that?
Oh, it's hair standing up on the back of my neck, Simon. It was, as I said earlier, an extraordinary journey. And when we achieved the Europa Conference League proper, and we played 6 games, 3 at home, 3 away, 3 home games at our national stadium, which was just fantastic. It felt like job done. You know what I mean? It felt like we'd gone from the potentially staring down the barrel of the 3rd tier to then Europa Conference League proper. It felt like we and the team that had been involved with me had done everything we could possibly achieve, and it felt like the right time for me to step away from the club. And look, I've always said all along, I think if I can be remembered not just for putting some capital into the club, but energy and drive and ambition and enthusiasm, I would much rather be remembered for that than it would be for Kenny, who stuck 6.8 million quid into the club. You know what I mean?
And let's say it was your parting gift to Larne. Money was no object whatsoever, and you could sign one player in the world right now. Who would it be? Who would have been on the wish list?
Oh, God. I would probably say it would be, I'd have probably gone for Isak. I'd have probably gone for Alexander Isak. The Liverpool bought him for 125 million, and if money was no object and he would come to Larne, I would sign him.
Yeah, that's a good answer, knowing that I'm a Liverpool fan.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Purple Bricks. It would be remiss of me not to mention Purple Bricks with you on a podcast.
Yeah.
So I want to take you back to, I believe, April 2012, when it was first registered.
Yeah.
And apparently that name was decided around a kitchen table, if I can believe the internet.
That's correct. Me, Michael, and David Shepherd, our co-founder, sat around Michael's dining room table. Michael came up with a task for all three of us to think about, which was what colour should we have for our brand, and we went away individually and did some research. Came back and said purple was the most regal colour. It's the Queen's colour. Lots of charities like Great Ormond Street and various different charities use the colour purple. So we then set about the task of trying to find a name for this new entity. Purple was going to be the colour for the brand, and after about 2 weeks of thinking about various different names that didn't come to anything, nobody really liked, we were sitting around Michael's table and said, Michael said, why don't we put something together with purple? Mike come up with a name, and Michael said Purple Bricks, and as soon as he said it, it was like a light bulb moment for everybody. And it was a name that as soon as we spoke to anyone in terms of close friends and family, they said, wow, that seems like it resonates, and I think it could be a winner.
You say about that colour, when you were saying it, it's taken me back almost 10 years ago now, where that colour of purple, that shade of purple, would strike fear into me when I'd be driving through one of the villages in my patch and I'd see a purple board and I'd be like, oh God, I've got to stamp that out before they start getting more and more boards up here. So there was a lot of noise around that time from others in the online hybrid space, call it what you will. What was it that you think made Purple Bricks go beyond where the others didn't? Why did you succeed where they...
Look, it was probably three things primarily, Simon. The marketing was extraordinary. Very first appointment we ever made in the business, me, Michael and David, was to appoint James Kidd as our marketing director before we appointed anybody else.
Okay.
And we had James Kidd before we even had a technology platform. James Kidd was responsible for elevating, communicating the brand, getting the right tone of voice, all those types of things. And we were engaging with advertising agencies way before we even sort of launched. So marketing was going to be a significant part to play. Michael wanted to make sure that Purple Bricks became a household name, wanted to make sure it became something that the British public knew and wanted to engage with. But also we wanted to show our agents that we were going to drive significant leads and generate significant leads. So marketing was number one. Number two was technology, making sure that we had a technology platform where customers could interact with our agents, could actually physically do things. And I think all the entrants before that didn't really have a sort of end-to-end technology process that they had built themselves. So we wanted the technology to be inquisitive. We wanted it to be customer-facing rather than just be agent-centric. And the customers were able to arrange viewings, make offers, arrange valuations, transact sales through the technology and be able to see everything visible. And homeowners loved that, Simon. Homeowners loved seeing their marketing reports. They loved seeing viewings dropping into their diary. When they're at work, they loved receiving an offer at 8 o'clock on a Saturday evening. So the technology was second. And then the third, and probably the thing that's most important to me, was the culture. We created this amazing energy amongst our agent population where we really did feel we were creating a movement. The people that we were able to recruit and the culture that those people created was extraordinary. I mean, I'm a great believer, Simon, that environment is created by leadership. So leadership of an organization creates the environment. The culture is fostered by those people that work in the organization or are part of the organization. And if you create the right environment, a great culture can be delivered. And I think with all of the entrants that came before us, I think we got the marketing, the technology and the culture better than anybody else. And it was an extraordinary period of time that we had at Purple Bricks.
So it's interesting when you say about culture, because I've been fortunate enough to have Steph on the podcast, Tom Kirk on the podcast, who you obviously know very well. And if, Tom, you're listening and not watching this, Kenny slightly rolled his eyes there and then like, oh God, Tom. By the way, shout out to Tom being fourth official at the weekend at Old Trafford.
That's what I was just going to say, Sam, and that's why I rolled my eyes. That Tom came on my stag do and I got a text from one of the guys that came there. He said, I'm sure I've seen the guy that was on your stag do as the fourth official at Man United Chelsea. Yeah, extraordinary. I mean, Tom Kirk is a remarkable man, and for him to be able to be a professional referee and run his own estate agency business is something quite extraordinary. I think you'll see Tom Kirk as a Premier League referee before too long. He's very, very talented.
Yeah, it's definitely looking that way. It's quite funny actually, because the image I think I saw him put on Facebook, without massively going off on a tangent, I think it was maybe Kobe Mainoo was replacing Bruno Fernandes, I think. And when I had Tom on the podcast a while ago, I said, when you've refereed any level of football, who's one player where you were just like, wow? And he said, Mainoo.
Wow.
And I said, isn't that funny how the picture then put on Facebook is you like holding the board up as he's coming off the pitch?
Incredible. The only thing I was worried about is Tom likes his hairstyle and everything has to be perfect.
It's pristine,
it was raining so heavily at Old Trafford, his hair was a bit all over the place, so I'm sure he sorted that out at full time.
So the reason I said about like Steph and Tom, and then I've heard Andy speak about it as well, in terms of like culture, because you know, these people, these high caliber people that you attracted very, very early on, you had to have a clear vision and leadership for these people to go, do you know what, screw this, I'm going to stop doing the traditional thing that I've always known, and people are probably telling me I'm mad to leave behind that career and go do this. So is that like management leadership something you've always had, or is it something you've learned over the years?
Look, I think leadership's learned over time. I don't think you naturally have leadership inside your DNA. I think you've got enthusiasm and drive and passion, and those types of qualities I think help with leadership. But certainly for us to be able to attract those caliber of people who were being told by their colleagues and by family members, you must be mad going into this online space, and we've seen loads of people not be successful in this space. But they had a look in their eye that they wanted to be part of something different. And when I met Steph with Andy Vaz in a Burnley Inn or a Brewers Fair or on the M6, just off the M6 near Stoke-on-Trent, she was all in. There's no question about it, that this really talented individual was passionate about trying to be part of something, and she believed us.
Yeah.
And we tried to deliver for her, and we took that responsibility really seriously. That talented people like Andy Vaz and Tom Kirk and Steph and many, many others wanted to entrust us with a period of their career with us. We wanted to make sure we delivered for them. So again, marketing, technology, environment, to create a great culture were all things that we tried very desperately to deliver on. And look, mine and Michael's work ethic is probably our biggest quality. We have this enormous drive and determination to be successful, because we take the responsibility of people who join us on a journey very, very seriously, because it's our role as leaders to make sure that they further their career and they learn things with us that they may not have experienced elsewhere.
I think it's very telling in what you've just said there, in the amount of people who were involved in that Purple Bricks journey who have gone on to do their own things. It shows that that's gone through. And I've seen that a lot with, I would say, the glory days of Countrywide many, many years ago, where lots of branch managers, valuers, area managers, whatever title, where they've gone on to launch their own businesses as well. So it's kind of has been breeding grounds there for entrepreneurs to go out and do it themselves.
Yeah, look, I think great leadership teams influence people to be entrepreneurial and go and do their own thing. And when they see people of a young age like me and Michael trying to forge a business and make it successful, they then see themselves in that same position in years to come and want to do the same thing. And we've created, I would say, hundreds of entrepreneurs now from Purple Bricks in that journey. And many of them are being really, really successful in the industry and beyond the industry.
It really does feel like, it's just my personal opinion, that the juggernaut, which is self-employment in a estate agency in 2025, wouldn't be what it is today without the juggernaut that was Purple Bricks a dozen or so years ago. It kind of set the way for what we're seeing now. Now, you said something. You said about yours and Michael's biggest qualities being your work ethics. Do you ever switch off?
I try not to. I mean, as I said, genuinely, I take people's careers very, very seriously. And I think when you're leading or being part of a leadership team that's growing a business and people come and join you, they're entrusting themselves, their families, their future in your hands. What you can't do is you can't play with that. You've got to be very serious about your intentions of making something successful. And I don't think you can be successful if you're going to play at it. So I'm very serious about the businesses I'm involved in, and I work very, very hard, and I enjoy it. Lots of people sort of work to live. I live to work, and I enjoy it.
Do you think, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but do you think some people kind of play at it? They don't give it 100%, and then they don't get the results they want, they don't succeed, but actually they never really gave it their all. It's as if they set up to fail from the start, if you know what I mean.
Well, look, in any business, you're on a journey, and there are sort of 5 phases of growth that a business goes on, and not every business is capable, and not every business is lucky enough to get through those 5 stages to ultimately be mature. And I think one of the biggest things that ultimately decides whether a business gets through to that ultimate level of maturity is how much the people, the leadership, and the people around them apply themselves. Because you've got to understand, in any industry, there are always people that are richer than you. There are always companies that have got a bigger workforce, that have got better ideas of marketing, better technology, better PR, better training. All of those types of things are available to many organizations. So the one thing you can have when you start a business is work ethic, drive, determination, passion, enthusiasm. And I think they should be all things that are not played at. They should be coming 24/7, that you should be delivering to the business. And if you do that, you've got a great chance of being able to get through those 5 phases of growth and end up at a level of maturity that sees you a well-established business for the future.
You just made me think like James Milner in terms of that work ethic. Like, has he been the most talented footballer of, you know, my generation, but he's there all these years later? I think there's a really random stat. I think in his career, James Milner has played against 50% of all the players to have ever played the Premier League.
Unbelievable. I mean, I think he's the oldest player to score in the Premier League. Is that right? Didn't he score?
Should be with the penalty he scored, yeah.
Outstanding. And he is somebody who is a great example of squeezing every ounce out of his career, because he applied himself. He was dedicated, enthusiastic, passionate, driven. All of those types of qualities he demonstrated, and he didn't play at it. He was very serious about his career, and ultimately and still is having a brilliant career.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's Ryan Giggs or I think Gareth Barry, but it looks like he's on his way to be the record Premier League appearance holder.
Unbelievable. But all 3 of those players.
Yeah. Same.
Gareth Barry, all similar individuals. Yep. Ryan Giggs, all applied themselves remarkably well and got the most out of their careers.
Yeah. So, at its absolute pinnacle, again, if my research is wrong, correct if it's right, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong in any of this. So, sort of valued at over £1 billion and was selling a property every 16 minutes at one point.
Yeah, unbelievable. We were doing 21,000 valuations, market appraisals, however you want to call them, per month in the UK. So if you think about 1 million transactions, we were probably doing 20 to 25% of the properties that were coming on the market. A Purple Bricks agent was going out to value that home, which was unbelievable for a business to have that opportunity. Clearly, we didn't obviously convert all of those. I think the most we got to was about 36, 37, 38% conversion rate. But it just shows you that the public were bought into that brand. The public were intrigued and wanted to hear about what it had to offer.
And fast forward to, I think it was 2022, Agents Together forms. There was a nice smile on your face as I said that. So when I say Agents Together forming, what was the immediate thought in your head?
Well, firstly, I think of Sarah. I think what an amazing person she was, and a great example again of somebody who applied herself, drive, passion, enthusiasm. That girl never did anything, even in her most challenging times, was still smiling, was still motivating others. Yeah. You know what I mean? When probably she was the one that needed motivated or helped, and she was helping others and motivating others. So I think of her, and I think about the industry from people outside. It sometimes has a bad name, and Agents Together proved to me that when me and Michael sat down and spoke about it and said we'd approach a number of really key respected people to see whether they'd come and join a trustees board or a board of ambassadors, we were inundated with the people we spoke to. They all said, I'm on the bus, I want to be involved, I want to help shape this, I want to come up with the right name, want to come up with the right pillars, want to come up with the right foundations for it. And then as soon as we launched it, the wave of support we got from people who wanted to give their time free of charge to people who felt they needed a bit of support, and the amount of people that wanted a bit of support, not just because of COVID, but actually it's gone on to bigger and better things and is still growing and still amazing today. So I think of Sarah, I think of the level of support and buy-in we got from those early brand ambassadors and trustees, and then the level of swale of activity we got from mentors and mentees. It was just outstanding, and something that I'm really, really hugely proud of, that I was a small part in helping to bring it together.
So on one of the things you said there then, it sounds like you really underestimated actually how much help was needed and also how much help was out there. You said about like outside of the four walls of a estate agency we get a bad rap, but you knew how good the people were. But it sounds like you've been surprised even further by how far it's gone?
Well, look, it's a very competitive industry, and agents are going up against each other in lots of villages and towns across the UK, and they want to win that business. And because of that no sale, no fee environment, if you don't get the signed contract, you don't get the opportunity to get the commission. So that competitive nature of the industry would lead people to believe that when you offer something in terms of you can give some help for free, there are people in our industry that need some help and guidance. Are you willing to share your experiences? Are you willing to help advise, support people and help mentor them? And for hundreds and thousands of people to come forward and say, I'm willing to sign up, I'm willing to mentor somebody for 6 months, because it's a big responsibility. You know what I mean? It helped me as a leader. That period of time where I had about 20 over the 2 or 3 years I was involved, I probably did 20 or 30 mentorships.
Right.
And I probably learned as much about leadership during those 2 years and doing those mentorships as I did in all of the things I've done before and since. Because it allowed me to have some really focused time to say, I'm going to be seeing Simon today, or I'm going to be seeing John. I've got to think about what we're going to talk about. I've really got to allocate some proper time to help advise this person because they want some support. And it probably gave me a lot of thinking time as a mentor, and hopefully had a bit of an impact on the mentees that I work with.
So in terms of impact then, I'm going to test you now, your memory. Can you remember, and I can't imagine you are going to, but can you remember the first time we actually ever met in person?
Cool.
I'd be amazed if you can remember this.
I'm 50 years of age, and unfortunately, I think a little bit of memory loss is setting in, Simon. You'll have to remind me.
So, coming up to 2 years ago, there was a conference in Birmingham, Mortgage Advice Bureau conference, and you and Andy walked past me, and I was like on my phone or something, and it was one of those ones where, like, I think Andy or you, one of you waved, I thought, and I kind of was like that, but did that as if, I don't know if they were waving at me, like, didn't want to look like an idiot.
We talked to you, didn't we?
Well, I was like, I've got to hang up. I don't know who I was talking to, but I was like, I've got to hang up. And I came and said, Andy, Simon, and he's like, yeah, how are you doing, Simon? I was like, oh, so he did mean to wave at me. And the connection I've just made here is that I can't remember if you knew exactly who I was, but you said, I saw your post today on LinkedIn that you're part of Agents Together. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to share that, because I think it wasn't that long at that point, but I'd signed up as a mentor of Agents Together.
Yeah, no, unbelievable organisation. The people like Chris Watkins and Samantha and Michael and all of those guys that have put in so much effort to try and help scale it up and grow it alongside Sarah and Michael's investment and now Rightmove's investment into it as well, or donation into it. And all of those mentors and mentees have made, I think, a really special organisation that the industry should be really proud of. It should be something that the industry really shouts about. And I think every organisation, whether that's the Agency UK or whether it's your business, we should have the Agents Together logo on all of our websites just to demonstrate that it is something that has to be part of the industry for forever, because it's a very important piece.
Agreed. So you mentioned the Agency UK there. You couldn't stay away, could you?
Well, I mean, Andy, Steph and Mark are three very special people. The three people I work with, especially Andrew Vaz.
Yeah.
I worked with him since the age of 17. Andy was my sort of trainee negotiator at Enfields Property Services in Chandler's Ford when we opened a new branch. And me and Andy hit it off. I was about 27, he was 17, but we were like best mates from that moment onward. And I was his best man at Steph and Andy's wedding. And so they're three very special people. They worked really hard at Purple Bricks. And when they wanted to do something off their own backs, I did encourage them to do something together. Not Andy and Steph, because they were husband and wife, or going to be husband and wife. They were engaged at the time. But I encouraged Mark, who was thinking about doing something similar, to sit down with Andy and Steph and have some dialogue and discussion. And they came up with a brand and came up with a strategy and all of those types of things. And we sort of sat down a few times over COVID, and they were telling me what they were up to, and I was really encouraging them from the sidelines as a cheerleader, because I knew they were onto something that could really be very, very, very successful for them and for their agents. Because all the things they spoke about right at the outset about being the best business partner that an agent wishes to have, and making sure a personal agent is available in every village across the UK, are all things that are still very important to the business today and are still very much objectives that the business wants to achieve. So, special people. I was doing booming at the time, which I didn't realise the impact. I would try and take on Rightmove. I thought I could do that. We were unsuccessful, but it was, again, a nice experience. When I came out, I took a little bit of time off, and Andy and Steph and Mark sat down with me and said, we're through our sort of startup phase. We're just about to enter our foundation stage. We would love you to come on board as a non-exec director, help us with a bit of strategy, help us with a bit of investment. And I enjoyed it so much that we eventually sat around and said, would I come in full time and work on a more permanent basis? And I've enjoyed every second of it. I'm as equally passionate about this business as I've been any business I've been involved in. And I believe that this has got significant legs to be an industry changer, similar to other businesses I've been involved in the past.
Well, when you look at like the data out there from a personal agent perspective, a personal agent is more likely to get someone sold, do it quicker, get more money in their back pocket, because they're seeing it through from start to finish. And if I look back to the end of my days as an agent, it was a conveyor belt where I was just listing, pass it on to negotiators, let them sell it. I wanted to be involved as much as possible, but then you've got head office saying, no, just need you to go out, list the machine. I was like, but I want to go around and see Kenny and say, look, we've not quite had the result we wanted. Let's refresh your pricing strategy. Like, no, it's not your job. Your job is to just go out and do listings. So I completely get the personal agent side of things. In terms of personal agency, hypothetically, I stop doing what I'm doing today and I go, right, I want to be an estate agent in business partnership with Talk, and I'm going to go dominate Newport Pagnell. That is my hyper local market, as Steph would say. If I went and had a beer with you and said, what advice are you going to give me to set the world alight in Newport Pagnell, what would you be saying to me over that pint?
Look, I think firstly you need to have some experience, which you've got. Secondly, you need to focus on a hyper-local market, because it's about being really, really successful in that space, sort of building a reputation of somebody who understands that market, understands the people that buy and sell in that market, and is willing to with this national brand of the Agency UK alongside my local reputation, willing to have my name and face above the door. So experience, hyper-local, and then it's about whether you want to lead generate. Are you somebody that is willing to engage with people? If I was had a dog walking business and I was out walking those dogs and I saw somebody walking a dog, I would stop them, I'd introduce and say, look, if the weather's ever too bad or you need somebody ever to walk your dog, here's my card. So if you're willing to lead generate, then you can ultimately be successful. And the great thing about this particular industry is two things. One is that 40% of what's on the market today is going to ultimately sell with some other agent. Mm-hmm. So if you've got 200 houses on the market in your location, 80 of them or 40 of them or whatever is going to sell with somebody else, 80 of them. And the great thing about it is if you do a great job with those customers that you do list, you can rave about it and you can become very, very successful very quickly. That actually those that are on the market with you will have people viewing houses that have a house to sell, and you'll generate valuations from it. And you'll build a significant local reputation for delivering great service and getting really good outcomes for agents. So experience, desire to do lead generation, and making sure that you want to build a really successful business.
I love the dog walking kind of analogy you said there, because I think too many people are afraid to go make contact. It's a contact sport. And then once you've made that contact, if you do the job well enough, like you said, people are going to rave about you. Buyers who view the properties will have properties to sell.
Indeed.
And then it just snowballs from there. Right, final question, Kenny.
Yes.
So I completely rip off Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO podcast. So he gets the last guest to ask the next guest a question, not knowing who they are. And then mugs like me buy these cards. So he monetizes it. So I'm going to pick out a random question. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do so that no one thinks this is choose one. I've never done this before, so choose a card. And don't look at the question, no, pass it back to me. That one, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so this question was asked by Gabby Logan, a fantastic sports presenter, and asked by Charlie Sloth, DJ. So, great question. Right, I need you to elaborate on this as well. Who was the person who first believed in you?
Oh, God. I mean, there's probably, you could think about your siblings, you could think about your mum, your father. I mean, probably I would say the first person who really, truly believed in me in the career that I'm in now, which is clearly real estate and estate agency, was a guy called Philip Allison, who passed away last year. I went to his funeral, an amazing regional director for General Accident Property Services. This is way back in the day. And I knocked on his door to try and look for a role because I was a senior negotiator. I realised very quickly at Countrywide that if I worked harder than everyone else in the office and I did it with a good reputation and was trustworthy and honest, that I could grow. But opportunities weren't coming at Countrywide for me to step up the ladder. So I went and knocked on his door and said, I want to have a branch manager's role. I might not be ready, but I'm willing to work hard, willing to put in every effort to be successful. And I think I've got some talent at the age of 21 to do this. I think I can lead people. And he gave me a job literally within an hour and said, when can you start? I started 4 weeks later, and I took over the North End office in Portsmouth as a branch manager, rookie. No idea really what to do, but he truly believed in me, and he mentored me for about 2 years and made me, and I think, to a really good, what I would class as a really good branch manager leader. And ultimately that set me on my travels in terms of trying to be a leader within the estate agency business. So Phil Allison, amazing guy, brilliant family, and somebody who I very much hold dear to my heart. And he was definitely the first person that truly believed in me in real estate.
Brilliant, love it. It just goes to show it takes one person to believe in you.
Yeah.
To move things forward. Brilliant. So for everyone watching, listening, please do review, subscribe, like, share. And that just leaves me to say, Kenny, thank you very much for being an amazing guest. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks, Simon.